Revelation 13 verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. But him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. From the RT by Rachel Marsden. Digital IDs could easily turn into a dystopian social credit system. Now imagine if such a QR code digital ID system is expanded, as the EU plans to do, to include access to university applications, hotel check-ins, car rentals, bank account opening and access, public services, or bank loan applications. While many of these already have digital components, they're personal, decentralized, and not linked to a single government-run entity. Shalom, all praises, blessings, glory, and honor to be unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. Again, the title of this article reads, Digital IDs could easily turn into a dystopian social credit system. And by now, we understand that Esau Edoms, the so-called Caucasian race beginning with their hegemony, their elites, whom, according to the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 4, is the wicked, that the goal of their New World Order is to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and thus centralizing everything. Because he believes within his heart of hearts that he is as the Most High. The article reads, the idea of a digital identity and wallet for citizens residing within the European Union, and not just within the European Union, but across the entire globe, may date back to 2020. But pandemic-era restrictions have shown the extent to which governments can shut off access to everyday life. And this is what Esau Edom will ultimately be able to do when they introduce and enforce their New World Order agenda through their device, which is ultimately the Most High's device in the left hand, which is the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, also known as the NFC chip implant in Europe, also known as the biochip, also known as the brain chip implant. Esau Edom will be able to see the buyings and the sellings, ultimately all transactions of every individual upon the earth, except for the elect of the nation of Israel, who will not be taking that chip through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And Lord's willing, I am of the elect as well as you brothers and few sisters, because the Lord had promised us, because thou had kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. And when we examine the word temptation in the book of Revelation, the word temptation means to try out, to experiment through the idea of piercing. And so the hour of temptation will be the hour of trial through the idea of piercing, when Esau Edom will cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That is the mark of the beast. And what will allow them to utilize the chip for people to buy and to sell and to also observe their transactions and other businesses is a particular type of network known as a centralized blockchain. Now, what is a blockchain? You may have heard me use this word, and brothers as well, and the apostles in the past. But what does the word blockchain mean, and what is a blockchain? Well, a blockchain is a distributed database that is shared among the nodes of a computer network. For we are in the fourth industrial revolution, in the age of the Internet of Things, where everything is based online via the internet. It says a blockchain stores information electronically in digital formats. Blockchains are best known for their crucial role in cryptocurrency systems, such as Bitcoin, for maintaining a secure and decentralized record of transactions. And this particular statement here, for maintaining a secure and decentralized record of transactions, is contradictory, because a decentralized network is not secure, because all transactions are anonymous, and it can oftentimes cause a lot of different foreign invasions, attacks that can cause people to lose their assets. And so to avoid all that, and to keep an eye on all businesses and transactions of the global population, Esau Edom will implement a centralized blockchain. Centralized meaning that it will be overseen by a central authority. And who will that central authority be? The elites of Esau Edom. So they will be able to oversee all buyings and sellings, all transactions of all the people on the planet, except for the elect, who will not be taking that chip. Right now, China, they have something known as the digital yuan. So their central bank is able to oversee the transactions, all the transactions of its population. It says the innovation with a blockchain is that it guarantees the fidelity and security of a record of data and generates trust without the need for a trusted third party. But it will be centralized under Esau Edom's New World Order agenda when they roll out the chip, which is really the Mosai's chip on the left-hand side, because all roads leads to prophecy being fulfilled, which are the words of the Most High through His Son. So now that we've gained the understanding of what a blockchain is, Let's read on in this article. Lord's willing, it is informative. It says, but pandemic era restrictions have shown the extent to which governments can shut off access to everyday life, should they so choose. And with ever changing criteria that can be difficult to appeal when something goes wrong. That's a frightening, prospect when considering how much of one's life the super or supranational European government wants to connect to a new system that it's set to roll out. These very long words. As the pandemic shot around the world, the first public utterances of a European-wide digital identity system started emerging from EU think tanks and officials. EU Commission, President Ursula von der Leyen said in a speech in September 2020 that the Commission will soon propose a secure European e-identity, one that we trust and that any citizen can use anywhere in Europe to do anything from paying your taxes to renting a bike. And this is a form of gradualism, which they have been exercising throughout this global pandemic. See, ESO, he never lets a good crisis go to waste. There is opportunity in troubles. A technology where we can control ourselves, what data and how data is used. And to safely secure and store all that information that they will be utilizing and overseeing, they'll have to put it in a centralized blockchain. And so everything across the globe will be centralized under one super authority. Okay? And they may have branches that they'll have, around the globe, other central bank branches, but ultimately they will all be reporting back. They will all be linked back to one central authority, which will be the elites of Esau Edom. And they enforce their New World Order agenda. But in the fullness of their sufficiency, they're going to be straight. They're going to be in straits. At the time, anyone suggesting that one day EU member countries would implement systems of QR codes for access through what? Through the mark of the beast. For access to everyday venues, and leading up to that, they'll introduce things in gradual stages, i.e. Green Pass and so many different other things. And then eventually it'll get to the chip. And they'll say, oh, well, this device can store all the information, but it will go on under your hands or in your forehead. A reason to say contingent on a government-dedicated number of injections and linked to a larger EU passport system. Oh, well, check that out. On which travel around the block would be dependent. Dependent on what? On having that chip and they roll it out. Would have been dismissed as a conspiracy theorist. Why? Because Esau, he knows what he's doing. He knows that the Lord has his prophets set up on the scene, warning his elect, warning the nation of Israel. But they'll say on their news outlets and their medias that, oh, they're pushing conspiracy theories and this, that, and the third, to keep the general populace in the dark and move with tact and gradualism before them in a way that may seem as if they're appeasing to them, but behind closed doors, they're actually moving towards their own endeavors for their own agendas. See, Esau, he's very subtle. He's a serpent. So it's hardly difficult to see how the QR code system ushered into place due to government health mandates now has the potential to transform into something else more lasting, widespread, and possible nefarious. Why? Because they have used this whole thing as leverage now. This whole thing was their opportunity to be justified in introducing such changes and such you know laws that they'll implement and that they have implemented, because this is what the devil does. He's subtle. Already, anyone here in France who has logged into the government services website to retrieve their what QR code has noticed how that account is already linked with all sorts of data unrelated to health. Oh, check that out. Now, how many people don't know that? One can log in using a tax account number that's normally reserved for accessing your tax returns and acceptance. So they're saying, oh, well, this is going to be exclusively for your health. But lo and behold, it'll have all their information linked, from their medical to their financial to their ultimately identity. For accessing your tax return and assessments, or with a government-approved facial recognition application that associates your face with your pre-existing national ID. Well, what if there's a glitch or a bug? And that's why they're going to have it centralized, so that they can always keep an eye on everything. Or someone steals your ID. We've already seen during the what can happen when the government system gets overwhelmed by a pre-long weekend rush to validate and download QR codes. And those who booked flights are forced to cancel or postpone their plans because they lack a scannable form of the what. Speaking of which, how about the poor folks whose smartphone simply malfunctions or runs out of battery juice at the moment of boarding or venue access? Now imagine if such a QR code digital ID system is expanded as the EU plans to do. Why? Because it's something that's going to happen in the future, globally, to include access to university applications, hotel check-ins, car rentals, bank accounts, openings and access, public services or bank loan applications, to many other things that people do throughout their daily lives. Now, many of these things already have digital components. They're pessimal, decentralized. You see that? Decentralized, meaning that they're not overseen by a central authority. They're not linked to a single government-run authority. You see that? A single government-run entity. So that was pretty much the point of the article. Now let's get back to the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. I'll leave the article, Lord's willing, in the description box of the lesson. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, he is referring to the elites of Esau, Edom, causeth all people on the earth except for the elect of the nation of Israel, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. Now, by now, we should all know what that mark is. It is the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip, in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast. Who is the beast? The pagan Roman Empire, which came back in the form of NATO and the EU, with America being an extension of that empire, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, 666, and that's the number of the beast. Okay, which you would typically see behind a product in a convenience store, in a dollar store. You might see a product with the QR codes, 3 long QR codes, one in the middle and one in the left, the very end, and on the right, that's 666. Okay, that's their UPC code, Universal Product Code, which allows them to track things through that code globally. But now they're going to link everything in a centralized blockchain, in a centralized network. So whatever people buy, whenever they buy, they'll be able to see when and exactly what. This is Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. This is the judgment. So don't take that chip when they mandate it. Don't take the mark of the beast when they mandate it. Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, the image of the beast represents the system of the beast, i.e., his medical infrastructure, his financial infrastructure, his architectural infrastructure, his laws, his democracy, okay, his educational infrastructure. All these things comprise the image of the beast, which is the system of the beast. So any man who worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, which means righteous anger. Through what? The thermonuclear fire. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, the thermonuclear fire, because the thermonuclear missiles are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Who is the Lamb? Or Lord Yahushai. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever. And they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever received the mark of his name. And it says forever and ever just means for a period of time. And whosoever received the mark of his name. So with that, I pray this lesson was edifying, informative, straight to the point. Lord's willing, until the next, I say shalom to the elect.